We are live.
Don, you're muted.
Too many things going on. I'm so sorry, folks. Okay, welcome everyone tonight to the Joint Community Development and Finance Committee meeting for the City of Elyria City Council. We have 5 items on the agenda tonight, and the first one will be the approval of the January 11th joint meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mr. Tolet.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, item 2 is the matter of the CDBG action plan amendment for 2020. I'm going to read what we've got here. This is a virtual public hearing. It will be held on Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to obtain the views of citizens concerning the approval of the amendment to the City of Elyria's Community Development Block Grant Program for the year 2020 Annual Action Plan and 2020-2024 Consolidated Plan. The purpose of the amendments will be to have the availability of viewing electronically at www.cityofelyria.org beginning on January 22nd, 2021. I'll turn the floor over to Mona from Community Development.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
So this is just kind of a cleanup. Every year at the end of the grant period, we typically will have some leftover public service dollars that need to be allocated into different activities. So, and that's what I have prepared for you this evening. One of the activities that we proposed moving it into was fair housing so that we can be in compliance with our CDBG and CHIP requirements. Council did approve funding the Lorain County Urban League for the 2021 grant, and then this would move funds, this would make funds available earlier this year so that we can do more fair housing training, which HUD has asked us to do in previous monitorings. So I had suggested moving some funds over there. There is also a legal services activity, which is a new service, and this would be most likely with legal aid. They have submitted an application, and I know that the administration has been in contact with them, and so we kind of wanted to give Elyria residents a resource to go to when they're having problems with unstable housing circumstances, such as lack of housing, multiple moves, rent strain, that sort of thing, issues with employment and unemployment benefits, systematic injustices, fair housing, that sort of thing. So we kind of wanted to create a new activity so that we could expand resources for Elyria residents. And then with the rest of the money, we had suggested moving that into housing rehab. Since we have increased the income limit for that program, we have been getting a lot of applications, and that program has been expanding a lot. So we were just going to put some of the rest of the money in that. And then also with the CDBG COVID grant, for the first round of funds, we had allocated money into the food bank category, and we had agreements with Second Harvest and We Care, We Share. So We Care, We Share has written to us and said that they don't want the funding anymore. And Second Harvest was moved into CARES Act funding for the food bank because they just were not able to obtain the beneficiary forms that CDBG requires. So that freed up money with the CDBG COVID funds. So we're proposing to move that into youth services and senior services because there's always a demand for more youth services money. And for senior services, we were also looking to add that activity in for CDBG COVID. So with that, I don't know if anybody had questions for me on that or what your thoughts were.
Okay, well, thank you so much for telling us that. Is there anybody that has any question? And when we're through with that, I'll ask for proponents. Mr. Oswald.
Just a question. I know Teresa Shea made a comment one time that she had gone to a program, and I don't know exactly where it was held, where they were teaching the senior citizens how to use computers and things like that. And she just made a comment of how good the class was. I don't know what that program was, but I would like to see some money go into that. I probably could use that lesson. So I just was throwing in my 2 cents as far as maybe shoving some money that way so we can have a little bit more funding for programs like that I think are really necessity. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Oswald, and the mayor can correct me if I'm wrong. That program was put on by a private business, was it not, Mayor? That Mr. Shea spoke of?
Through you, Chair, Councilwoman Mitchell. Yes, that was done in partnership with Goodwill. And these resources could be utilized, the senior service resource could be utilized to continue that training.
Okay, and thank you, Mayor, very much. And Mr. Chair, through you, I do agree with Mr. Oswald that that is a great resource. But I do have a question for Mona, if I may. We're taking funds from these agencies, and I know because of COVID, they weren't all able to utilize and spend their money. So is the money we're taking from them going to be replaced by the COVID CARES Act?
No, and they are aware that that funding is going to be moved. And so these agencies, so the Elyria, they're all getting funding for next year or CDBG COVID money. So
Okay.
they're not being hard pressed right now
Okay.
with programming for that.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Sure.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I'll ask if there are any proponents. Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Seeing none and seeing no more questions or comments, this public hearing has been held. Thank you. We will move.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work. We're going to move to item number 3, and this is the matter of the expansion incentive package for Crane Aerospace Division, Hydro Air Incorporated, which includes an enterprise zone tax abatement and reduction of building permit fees. Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is an expansion Crane is looking to do. As everyone knows, the aerospace industry was dramatically hit with the COVID pandemic and the reduction in air travel. So that new building that was to happen across the street from the existing site is still in the works, but on hold until the airline industry recovers. They're anticipating right now that that would be in 2024, most likely, that we're going to revisit that, the construction of the new building. So that still is planned to move forward at this time. The city of Elyria remains a very attractive site for that project. But given the pandemic outfall, that is on hold. In the meanwhile, their repair and overhaul business line remains strong. And that was originally intended to be housed in that new building. However, they cannot wait for that. They need to expand to accommodate that. So they're looking at an addition of about 8,000 to 10,000 square feet at the existing site at an investment of a range between $3.7 million and $5.5 million for that expansion. It will include 10 full-time jobs with an annual payroll of $611,125. So this is a nice investment that they remain committed to maintaining their operations here in Elyria. And this will help meet their immediate need. They simply do not have the space to do the testing and the diagnosing and repair of the pumps that they use in the aircraft engines. So with that in mind, we are requesting an enterprise zone abatement of 75% for 10 years with the estimated value of up to $788,349. The proper notice has been served to the school districts. So we are able to move forward should the committee choose with offering that enterprise zone abatement. The second part is a request by the company in order to make sure that this could happen and the numbers worked, and to make it attractive to their leadership. They requested a building permit fee reduction. So we have reviewed this at the Elyria Economic Development Committee several months ago, and we have agreed to offer a 50% reduction in building permit fees not to exceed $10,000. So right now they anticipate the building permit fees to be about $15,000, which would be a $7,500 reduction in the permit fees. And then we will, but in the event that it goes over that, based on this agreement, it will not exceed $10,000.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Calvert. Are there any questions? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, I do have two committee reports here. The first one I will read, and then we'll go right to the second one. Okay, we have considered the matter of an expansion incentive package for Crane Aerospace. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Crane Aerospace. The expansion project is at 241 South Abbey Road. Could I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get the same motion from Finance?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, one more committee report. We have considered the matter of an expansion incentive package for Crane Aerospace, Division of Hydro Air Incorporated. This would be an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Crane Aerospace to assist the project to reduce the building permit fees by 50% reduction and not to exceed a total amount of more than $10,000. Could I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet. Any discussion? I'll make a comment. I think this is a great opportunity that Crane is reinvesting into our community. Even they're falling a little bit short on their expansion across the street. I think it's an incredible investment they're making right now with hope for future expansion to come down here in the near future. And us doing this is a great partnership that we're creating. So I just want to lay that comments over them through. Is there any other further discussion?
Question.
Question been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to item 4. This is the matter of creating a downtown historic redevelopment grant program. Could I get Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have been very conscious of the fact that we see a lot of development activity starting to occur in downtown, and we have a tremendous amount of interest in investing in downtown. And this program is designed in a way that will encourage the rehabilitation of some of our historic buildings in downtown. I know, through you, Mr. Chair, if it is okay, Mayor Whitfield did have a few comments he wanted to make about downtown in general and what kind of programs we're seeing and how they fit into the vision of the city. So with your permission, I would ask.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Speak.
Thank you, Chair. And again, I wish could turn my camera on, but again, I got 4 wisdom teeth pulled. Kind of got the chipmunk thing going on right now. So I'll let y'all not have to worry about that. But I did want to just provide some context to this. I'm going to be very brief. If you can recall, back at the end of last year, we presented to you all kind of, this economic recovery plan. And, we shared kind of what our goals were in terms of wanting to recover faster than other communities, to build back stronger than what we were before, and to really have a focus on some long-term impacts. And just kind of reinforce that we're committed to our original commitments. When we came through the door, we said our goal is to create 2,025 jobs by 2025. The pandemic may have hit, but we still remain committed to that goal. We still remain committed to have to go at it together. We know that this is not something we can do by ourselves, but we need the partnership, not only City Council, but our community and our businesses as well. So, our kind of economic strategy, I'm just trying to provide context to this, was this whole idea of getting in our bag together. The first piece being building a city for entrepreneurs. So how we're doing that right now is, supporting those economic development organizations and trying to convene those folks. We're still interested in trying to create an incubator downtown Elyria for small businesses. We're in conversations right now with some building owners down there about space being utilized for that. It's one of the reasons why we wanted to get the CDC up and running so that it could really start to spearhead some of the downtown development, starting to help fill up some of the vacancies downtown. The second piece was around attracting employers to investing in our workforce. So, City Council, again, super proud of you all and thankful for the partnership that we have with Lorain County Community College and being able to provide the resources needed to upskill, reskill, and develop first-time skills for our residents. So we're really looking forward to rolling out that Skill City initiative and by June of this year. So right now we're just working on some of the outreach and programmatic side of things. So appreciate this, City Council support on that. And the last piece, which you kind of just heard, was growing the businesses that already exist in Elyria. And we're big on acronyms because they help you remember things. So we have this kind of WINM philosophy, support our businesses through the workforce support, incentives like you all just approved, provide networking opportunities. COVID kind of put a hamper on that, but we're trying to still develop how we can create networking opportunities for our small businesses, engaging them. You saw that a lot last year with the Love Elyria and the work we were doing, having businesses come out and volunteer to help deliver food and donate food. So engaging our businesses in that community service side. And then when we can, marketing opportunities. So I see even some of you on your social media, you'll share, hey, I got food from here and there. And, we want to make sure we're using our platform to promote our local businesses. The last piece that got adopted once we got in the door was this whole idea of site development. So one thing I've learned through this journey is that there's a lot of prep work that needs to be done to prepare sites for development. So, you've all been involved in what we're doing with Midway Mall, trying to get that site prepared. Now we're working with downtown, and one of the programs Dawn is going to be speaking to again is around the site development of downtown. So just wanted to kind of provide context and invite you all, here's kind of, we asked for that, 1.1 mil out of issue 6 to be allocated at the end of last year. Here's where some of those dollars have gone toward, a lot toward downtown, a lot toward our partnerships and professional services that touch on the Scale City initiative, that touch on the Midway Mall work. We have some things in the working around workforce development and how we might connect people to employment, and then just some of the standard fees that kind of go along with economic development work. And so I wanted to add that context and then invite you all next Monday, President's Day. We're having a town hall at 5:30. It's a virtual town hall. We'll dive a lot deeper into these plans, not only for the economic recovery, but we're also going to the social recovery plan in terms of, if you're like me, I've gained the quarantine 15. And so we're trying to, get our community back socialized, and we'll be sharing the plans for that as well on the town hall next Monday. So I just wanted to provide that context as Dawn talks about this upcoming program idea that we have around downtown development. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor or any comments? Looks like Mr. Oswald.
Just wanted to bring up a comment. Of course, I keep saying we need a game plan with downtown Elyria. I did have a lengthy conversation with Ms. Culver and feel more comfortable now on things that are possibilities in downtown. I know that a lot of this stuff is sensitive. We can't bring it out. She's doing a great job with getting this thing all together. There is an end game plan, and as soon as they can get some stuff to make the citizens feel more comfortable. Right now, I know they have to put their trust in us, but it is headed in the right direction. And I just wanted to bring that up to let everybody know that, yes, we do have a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald, and I agree with everything you said. Are there any other questions? Mrs. Mitchell? Mrs. Mitchell?
I'm sorry, I was just coughing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had my hand up to cough. I'm sorry.
Well, you should say something. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to chime in? Or any comments? Okay, I'm sorry. Mrs. Law Director Deary.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. Just as a matter of housekeeping, I noticed that on the referral, it mentions program details, and I'm wondering if that similar to the demolition grant program or the facade program, if there will be a detailed program that my office will need to take into account when we begin drafting what I'm anticipating will be legislation should this committee move forward.
Mrs. Calvert.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, through to Law Director Deary. Yes, we are drafting the complete application right now. What you have in front of you is a draft that was reviewed just earlier this afternoon by the Elyria Economic Development Committee. There were some recommended changes to this program that I think would behoove us to go through a little bit. And just to provide some background on why the program has been structured the way it has, is we have a list, an internal document that tells us which buildings in the downtown Commons area are on the National Registry of Historic Places, and they are listed as either historic or contributing to the historic nature character of downtown. So buildings that are on that list described at either one of those categories would be eligible. And then one of the changes that the Economic Development Committee recommended we make is, rather than asking that each project be reviewed by the Ohio State Historic Preservation Office, that we do not do that, and instead we utilize our Landmarks Commission to review these applications locally and provide their feedback into the design of any improvement to these buildings. So we would have that local knowledge of the historic redevelopment and how that the applicant would be changing the building and making sure that that is staying in line with the historic nature. So that is one of the changes that was recommended.
Dawn, can I give some context to kind of I guess I forgot to mention that part about this program. The purpose of this program, I don't know if you recall, our wonderful Elyria historian, Coach Bill Bird, he shared that, hey, I see that we have money allocated to tear down historic buildings, but what about resources to redevelop those buildings? So this is really in response to what we've heard a number of community folks say of, hey, how are we investing in redeveloping these historic sites? So we took the model from the demo program and redesigned it for redevelopment of historic sites as well. So that's kind of the context that this fits in. But I'm sorry, Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, thank you, Mayor. That was very good context. So I think it is designed very similarly to the demolition grant program that we approved and put to use this year. It would be a $50,000 matching grant for capital improvement projects.
Thank you. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to also make the comment that this money is a drop in a bucket if anybody's done any construction work. But what it does is it gets people off the fence about possibly doing something, just like tearing the buildings down or putting a new facade on your front of your building. So I know it's a little bit, but it's a start. And like I said, at least it gets somebody to get off the fence and finally say, you know what, I think it's time to do something. And then with this, I know the Historical Society is big on trying to preserve our buildings rather than tearing them down, and I get it. And if they can start getting some more federal money, which I know Bill Bird has been great with getting this on the designation registry a long time ago, and it's since, I guess, dropped. But we do need to preserve our history. And if we can get some more federal funding, maybe we could do a little bit better with the design and keep our history here in Elyria. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Ms. Calvert. So it's a $50,000 matching grant. Is there an investment amount that the building owner must make? Like they're going to put in $100,000. We all know that older buildings that haven't been maintained are going to cost a lot of money. So is there a initial investment that the building owner has to make?
Thank you, through you. No, the minimum investment to get the full $50,000 obviously would be $100,000. So that is the only requirement of the investment. So it could potentially be less if the project qualifies and gets approved, and it's an $80,000 project. They would be eligible for that $40,000. So no, there is nothing other than that matching requirement.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, if I may, through you, so there will be criteria before we do this grant. What criteria will have to be met by the building owner?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is a great question. So that is going to be dependent on the Landmarks Commission and their involvement with the Elyria Economic Development Committee. So that we will accept the applications. We'll make sure that they're qualifying based on the criteria in the full application, and then it will be up to the Elyria Economic Development Committee with the assistance of the Landmarks Commission to determine the eligibility.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions? Okay, Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. For Mrs. Mitchell, we discussed this in economic development because your question was awesome. With historic buildings, there's certain ways that you have to do, like windows. You can't just put vinyl windows in. It's got to be very specific. And that Landmarks Commission they know those rules better than we do on historic and historic preservation issues. So they could assist us in that manner. So it was very interesting to me why we needed them for their guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I did want to go back. I'm so hyper-focused on the historical aspect that I forgot the rest of the criteria, to Mrs. Mitchell's point. But yes, there will be additional criteria very similar to the demolition program, such as you have to be current on your taxes. The project must start within 12 months and be completed within 24 months. So there are, payment will be on a reimbursement basis. You have to meet, all the design review and all of those typical building department standards that we have. So there are additional criteria in addition to that historic component.
Thank you, Mrs. Calvert.
And through you, Mr. Chair, as was the case with those other ordinances, I would suggest that those requirements would be attached as an exhibit to the legislation. So it would all be right there in one place.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Mr. Sarah?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess without giving too much away, do we anticipate any applications coming in anytime soon to utilize this program?
Ms. Calvert?
Yes, thank you. I do anticipate that we would see applications, at least 2, come in within the next calendar year.
Thank you.
Good. Are there any other questions? Any more comments? Well, seeing none, I'll just make a quick comment. I think this approach provides a good balance, seeing how we already have the demo program. That's we can see that every time we go through downtown. And having the redevelopment grant program will just add more, preserve the integrity and historic nature of downtown. So I think there's only good that can come out of this going forward. So that being said, I would accept a motion from community development. Oh, after I read the committee report. We've considered the matter of creating a downtown historic development grant program. This would be an ordinance to create a downtown historic redevelopment grant program. Community development.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Ms. Davis,
Second.
second by Mr. Bear. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, one more item on the agenda tonight for the joint meeting, and it's the matter of creating an Elyria Delivers. This is a restaurant assistant program. It sounds very interesting, and I'd like to hear from Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So this is a program designed to help the restaurant community, who we know has been absolutely devastated by the pandemic and the social distancing and public health requirements. This is based off a program that the City of Beechwood is running, and it is designed to alleviate some of the pressure that's put on by the restaurant community in the surcharge that the delivery services charge the restaurants. So when you order on your Uber Eats, there's about a 30% surcharge that goes and is charged to the restaurant. So that obviously eats into their profits quite a bit. So this is a program designed to combat that by actually offering delivery service free to Elyria residents. So how it works is the restaurant receives the order from the Elyria resident. They handle all money, all payment. They then call City of Elyria employees, who we would utilize part-time, temporary, seasonal employees for this. And that employee serves as a dispatcher who puts in the address for delivery into an app, which is then sent to delivery drivers. So they are, that's all handled in-house. The delivery drivers, the way it works in the city of Beechwood is that the delivery drivers are actually contract employees of the city, specific for this purpose. So it is offered at no cost from the hours of 4 to 8 p.m. every day. The concept is that the restaurant and the residents must be located in the city of Elyria, within the city limits. And there are some requirements. The city would not handle any money. So there would be no exchange of money for the city to handle. That would be handled directly through the restaurant and the customer. And we anticipate there would be a need of about 3 to 5 drivers for 4 hours each day, depending on demand. And that there would be 1 to 2 dispatchers, again, depending on demand. There is an insurance rider that would be required for the delivery drivers who, and this, we did have a discussion on this at the Elyria Economic Development Committee meeting, and it was brought to our attention that there is some product liability that we would probably need to look into and make sure that our calculations are correct on that. So this is for discussion purposes only, just to get your thoughts and feedback on this and how we might be able to design a program, if interested, that would help out our restaurant community. So the total anticipated cost, if this were to run from March 1st through July, is $64,225.
Okay, thank you so much. I see a hand up. I saw Mrs. Mitchell first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Okay, so I think helping the restaurants is great, but I need help understanding. So we're going to take City of Elyria employees and pay them to dispatch drivers for restaurants.
So it is, yes, they're drivers, so the restaurant places the order with the city employee, and then the driver goes straight to the resident's home. And that's how it works in the city of Beechwood. So yes.
Understood.
Yes.
If I may, Mr. Chair. So are the drivers going to be contracted with the city of Elyria as well?
That is how it works in the city of Beechwood. Yes, they're contract employees.
So they're going to be contract employees of the city of Elyria?
Correct.
And how does, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, and how does that work with the union employees, or does that not matter?
Through you, Chair, this is Mayor Whitfield.
Yes, Mayor.
So again, I just want to provide context. This is just to get your initial thoughts on this is not to make any decisions tonight, but to hear that's a great concern that we would need to talk through with the union of, hey, how would y'all perceive this and receive this? But this is just something Beechwood is doing, and we've been hearing our restaurants are struggling. So we want to just have a dialogue with you all around brainstorming maybe some ideas of what we could do to help out our restaurants. And this is one idea.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Mayor, thank you so much. And I understand that it's for discussion. That's why I'm asking questions, just so that I have an understanding. Thank you.
Well, okay. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a good concept. I think, it needs some discussion, because where's the money going to come from out of the city's coffers, as far as if we're going to have to come up with 64,000? And then is there a possibility if Uber's charging 30%, could there just be a small percentage of payment after total bill that comes back to the city? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you're welcome. Mr. Tolet.
You're muted.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and Judy, I think will back me up on this. And I'm going to call on you, Judy.
Okay.
Food handling, a couple of things that came up in the economic development. One of the things why Uber charges is food handling liability, that if that product should become contaminated or start contaminated, the city could potentially, because they're transporting the food. Like our drivers right now all hold, it's called HACCP certification that Judy's aware of. So there's potential liability issues. The other thing that popped up between our last meeting and this meeting is how many employees who work for Uber Eats or DoorDash that are Elyria residents right now would lose their jobs earning income and tips because of this. And I agree, I'm 100% for supporting local businesses doing programs. I'm not sure, and I would abstain from voting on this because of what I do personally in my business. But I don't know if a city employee delivered product that someone were to get sick on, because we handled that food, we could be held liable. So I think maybe the next step would be the county health department to ask some of the health handling questions of what's required. So I'll cut it off there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sarah. Jack, you're muted, Jack.
You're muted, Jack.
Thank you. To you, Mr. Chair, I do also like this concept. Just throwing a thought out there, though, would there be some way to tailor this to maybe give a grant directly to some restaurants to cover delivery charges rather than be involved with the employee and the handling part of it?
Great comment.
Does anybody want to respond? Mrs. Calvert?
Amir has his hand up.
Oh, Mayor, I'm sorry, I can't see Mayor.
I was just giving some reactions. I'm sorry, my jaw, it's hard for me to talk, so I'm doing these
Okay.
emojis over here.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Sarah, yes, there is a way we could design a very similar program and potentially use community development block grant funds that would provide direct support grants to restaurants who would qualify under the CDBG guidelines.
Thank you.
Mrs. Davis has her
Mrs.
hand
Davis.
up. Tom.
I know.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. That was part of my questions. I thought this, the restaurants, couldn't they have filed for some of the money under the CBG money before when we had the COVID money? You know, when you was in hard times, couldn't they have fallen under that to apply for some of that money that we had in the city?
Yes, through you, Mr.
Well,
Chair.
they did.
Yes, they absolutely could have. We expended those funds. You know, we had fewer funds than we had need, so we are continuing to brainstorm ideas to support the restaurant community.
So did they get any of that money? Through you, Mr. Chair, sorry. Did
Oh, it's okay.
did they get any of the money? Did they apply, the restaurants for, in our area, apply for some of that CARES money?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Davis. Yes, that we did have several restaurants apply and receive funding through the CARES Act grant funds.
Okay.
Okay. Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Like I said, I support the restaurants and I try to eat local whenever I can. And in concept, this is a great idea, but I think there has to be a lot more thought put into the process. Because number one, like Mr. Tollett said, what happens if a city employee is delivering the food and somebody gets sick? Are we liable? Number two, we're paying employees to take phone orders and dispatch for restaurants. Is that the best use of our employees? Then number three, we're paying employees to deliver food. We've got to think about the unions and how that works and have a conversation. So yes, this is a great conversation, but I think a lot more conversation needs to be had around this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councilman Sarah had a good idea with doing, if you could do some form of a grant. But I think if you're talking, this is great conversation. I think you need to get a good panel of talking with people that actually do the restaurant business and get their input. And if you had a Zoom meeting with a few others and explained what we're trying to accomplish, they could let you know the problems that they're occurring. So I think if you really want to do a good job, which this could be really good, I think you need to get some of the businesses together and get their input. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Platsky.
Thank
You're
you,
muted.
Mr. Chair. So, are we gonna be, you said earlier on that these are gonna be contract employees? Dawn?
Yes, thank you. That is the concept. That's how it works in the city of Beechwood, and we were just modeling that for discussion tonight. So that was, yeah.
So are you talking about 1099 contract employees?
Yes, that is how it works in Beechwood. Yes.
But we would use existing employees to do it?
No existing employees.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Ted. Mrs. Keys, you had your hand up a little earlier.
Yes. I guess I'm just mostly concerned about the safety and sanitation of someone's vehicle and keeping food at temp. And to Mr. Tollett's point of the special training that most people have to go through in handling food. I'd be curious to know what Beechwood is doing in that regards.
Okay. I personally agree with that. And I think at some point, since this discussion is just starting now, and we're all learning a little bit and having this discussion, but maybe in the future, getting somebody from Beechwood on to one of our meetings where they can explain as well as the people from the restaurant industry. So did I see another hand go up? Mrs.
Mr.
Mitchell.
Chair, if I may, through you. So just so I'm clear, we're talking about hiring new people for July, for March, April, May, June, July, for 5 months. Is that the premise or the thought? Ms. Culver?
So that was, the concept. It definitely wasn't final. It was, to give us a starting point to be able to brainstorm around if there is interest in doing this, what the best way is to deliver. But yes, that's City of Beechwood uses contract employees for drivers, but then they have staff, and they have a community services department that they utilize staff already and allow them to kind of modify their hours so they don't exceed 40 hours in a week. We were using this as a cost estimate for about how much we would have to spend for employees, just as a discussion starting point.
Law Director Deary.
Okay, so just so I understand, so there's actually, as far as the labor aspect of this, there are contract employees who are drivers, but then if we were modeling this precisely as Beechwood does, there would be theoretically city employees who were doing a piece of this.
Correct. And when we thought about it and had discussions on how this would look, we thought the most realistically, it would be part-time seasonal employees to do that, the dispatch piece.
Part-time seasonal city
Yes,
employees
yes.
doing the dispatching. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions? Any comments? Okay, well, seeing none, this is a way to just kick this thing off here and have some discussion. Obviously, there'll be future discussion in regards to this, expanded discussion. So it's a good starting point. So thanks for everybody for your thoughts and your ideas, and we'll move forward with the future discussion when the mayor and Assistant Safety Service Director Don Calvert want to present that to council. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just want
Yes.
to thank everybody for their comments. You've given us a lot of ideas and brought up a lot of really great points that we can take back and do a little more work and bring a better program to you in the future. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you as well. Thank everybody in the mayor's office. Any other first discussions in regards to anything? Okay, seeing no further business for community development, we would, I'd accept a motion to adjourn the community development portion of the meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second,
Moved by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Community development is adjourned. Mr. Stewart will carry on with finance. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Continue with the finance agenda. First item on the agenda is approval of the regular finance meeting minutes for January 11th, 2021. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Mr.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Mr. Todd. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 2. We've considered the matter of GIS agreement renewal and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for the GIS program. Is that a three-year agreement that I'm guessing, right, John?
Yes,
For the attached. Can I get a motion to get on the floor?
so move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet. Engineer Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every 3 years, we've, well, for the last, I guess, few years, we've come to you with a, allow us, the mayor, to enter into an agreement for a GIS program. The GIS program is a program that we use for numerous things with the engineering department. We use it for our lead service lines. We use it for all of our water, sewer, and stormwater mapping needs, as well as we use it to create the city map and various other maps throughout the city that have been needed in the past. Zoning uses it for the zoning map, and the lead service line one is actually one that's not only is it required by the Ohio EPA, but it's something that it's interactive on the city website. So the program, once again, is something that we are required to use, some sort of GIS type program. We have been using the Esri program for, I'd say, the past 8 to 10 years at least. The program, I know it's expensive. When we first got the quote from the GIS program provider, it was more of a $55,000 a year program. But because we use it largely just in our department and the size of our city, we had to go through some negotiating with them, which actually knocked it down to the $22,000 a year. The program is paid for every year out of water and sewer and stormwater. So we balance it amongst the 3 funds because it is required for those disciplines to have the mapping services for all of our utilities. So something the EPA requires us to have. I don't know if there's any other questions. Oh, we asked that it be passed under emergency because our license is set to expire in March, and we'd like to make sure we have it in time.
So John, this is just a continuous update of the GIS. It's just something that, you know, in the 8 to 10 years, it's just continually improving. I mean, have we located all the infrastructure within the city?
I wouldn't say we located all, but we've located majority of. And the beauty of the system is our inspectors nowadays, when they're out there, we actually have these little devices that go on our smartphones and things of that nature that we're able to do live data grabs while we're out there. So if we're out there and there's a water main break, they can actually put that on the map, and over time we'll be able to create a map showing where all the water main breaks are. things of that nature, or where the service is. Anytime we dig something up, we can add a lot of notes to it. We've included even our record drawings in there, so it's easier to reference, to see all of our assets that we actually own and control, things of that nature.
Okay. Is there any other questions for Engineer Schneider regarding this? Does the motion concur for the emergency?
Yes.
Does the second?
Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 3. We consider the matter of inactive delinquent public accounts, a resolution certifying the said accounts to Lorraine County Auditor's Office per the attached list. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet. Ms. Connor.
Good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair, there's a list of about 22 accounts that have been made inactive. And the last 9 on the list I wanted to draw attention to because they are multi-unit housing, which the owner pays the rent, the utility bill. So we do not shut them off. But when they become 60 days or more delinquent, we are liening those properties.
So just so that I understand, is the multiple units are still those amounts are outstanding?
Yes, and the service is still on because it's with the understanding that the tenants are paying their share of the water through their rent.
So the owners are not.
Correct.
Wow.
That's the balances that are over 60 days delinquent. Now, hopefully by the time this goes to council on next Tuesday, maybe I can take some of these off the list. I'm hoping they're just very slow payers, but there's no guarantee of that.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Connor with Ms. Davis?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Connors. What about in the past? Since COVID hit, so many things has changed. What about in the past years about these multi-units? Have they been paying before this since March of 2020?
Not always. Some of them, probably 3 or 4 of them on the list, we have had problems with in the past. Some of them might be more than one building in a section, and they might have less occupancy in one of the buildings, and they tend to back off on paying the utility bill on that.
So Law Director Deary, how long do we let this go through? If it's a residential, right, we turn off the water.
Yes. So I tell you that the Utilities Resolution Board has had some discussions about for instance, these apartment building, multi-unit buildings, and they've come to the conclusion that the best course of action would be to have the delinquent amount certified over to the auditor as a lien, because it would not be fair in a tenant situation such as this to have really, there is no practical way, first off, to have the water shut off. But at the same time, the utilities department on behalf of the city does need to protect itself due to the fact that there is, quite a large bill outstanding. Mm-hmm. So by sending the money over to, the amount over to the county auditor's office and serving as a lien, does increase the chance of it being paid. It also does put the account holder in this situation, the landlord, the property owner, or maintenance company on notice.
Okay. Mr. Oswald?
That was, through you, Mr. Chair, that was great explanation. I feel sorry for the tenants that are paying their rent, and if they would get shut off, that's not fair. And it's not fair to the city to not get the money and it be put in a lien, which that lien could be on the term of the building, and then they lose the building, and then we lose water or our money for the water. So I know it's a catch-22, but I, greater minds than mine can probably figure it out. But right now, it's a bad situation, and when you got people that are paying their payments for rent in faith that they're going to have water, they should have water and not get it turned off. And those people that own the buildings should be making their payments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So I'm sure there's some type of certified letter that goes out to these owners.
Yeah, yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We send out a letter and tell them by a certain date payment needs to be made. We do have several of them that will call and make arrangements and get that paid. So they're all put on notice before anything gets liened.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Connor? Further questions? If not, I'll call for the question.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 4. We've considered the memo of an understanding to participate in Lorraine County Emergency Notification System for the years 2021 through 2023. In order to authorize the mayor to enter into said memorandum of understanding with Lorraine County Commissioners. Can I get a motion to get out of the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
That was a joint move by Mrs. Davis and Ms. Baird. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Davis. Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to defer this to Assistant Safety Service Director Firestein.
Director Firestein.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Through the chair to members of the committee, this is a simple memorandum of understanding with Lorraine County for us to participate in their emergency notification. If all of you have signed up, you'll sometimes get a text alert saying road is closed or weather emergency, and there are so many other capabilities with this system that we are looking to explore to utilize this to communicate with the residents on not only items for emergency notification purposes, but many others. But this just allows us to participate in the program and allows us to continue that. So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, pretty standard. Any other further discussions?
Question.
Questions been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 5, we consider the matter of applying for a FEMA grant. The mayor to apply for a FEMA is that fire prevention and safety grant and accept if offered. Standard emergency applies. There must be a filing deadline of February 26, 2021. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Safety Service Director Brubaker, is this you?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to council members. Ms. Flanders, Assistant Safety Service Director Flanders, and I have been working with the fire department, Fire Chief Mack, and with McCauley and company in regards to several grants that you're going to see on your agenda today. This item number 5 is for basically Fire Prevention Bureau employees. This is a $1 million, potentially up to $1 million competitive grant with a 5% match to the city of Elyria. And this is designed through FEMA to help enhance multiple things such as community risk reduction, code enforcement awareness, fire and arson investigation, pretty much what our Fire Prevention Bureau is doing to help. We could either hire an additional individual or use this towards the personnel that we currently have. Again, just like the fire truck is an extremely aggressive grant. They have about $35.5 million to give out, and they're only giving out 100 rewards. So we will be applying for this, provided council approves this tonight. And as the chairman said, it is a February 26th deadline, and we wanted to make sure we got this in your hands in plenty of time.
Okay, Mr. Brubaker, where the 5% match come from then?
That would be general fund dollars, which we're already paying to the fire department for the Fire Prevention Bureau. So this could help add an additional fire inspector or pay for our current fire inspectors up to $1 million. Not that we're going to get $1 million, and
Sure.
our Fire Prevention Bureau doesn't cost that much.
Sure. Any questions for Mr. Brubaker? Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So Kevin, this could potentially save us money.
Yes, through you, Chairman. Yes, it could potentially save us money. It depends on how much we actually get. We're going to apply for $1 million. You ask what you can get and take what you give you. So that's the reason why the dollar amount is so high. I certainly would not expect that we would get that much. And per Mr. Pileski, our finance director's recommendation at the last council meeting, in regards to sharing information in regards to Bendix, all three of these grants, that information is being shared with in our grant application, that we are losing one of our major financial resources at the end of this year.
Thank you.
Is there any, Ms. Davis?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Brubaker. So I understand then this grant, the paperwork is ready to go. February 26th is not that far off if it has to be in their hands by the 26th. So are you ready?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Ms. Davis, we are ready. The grant work, we have some numbers that we have to punch in.
Okay.
But the paperwork is ready and will be able to be submitted by our grants writer by the 26th. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
That was the right answer, Kevin.
I've learned over the years.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 6. We've considered the matter of a SAFER grant. The mayor to apply for and accept, if offered, a SAFER grant for the additional firefighters. Standard emergency applies. Deadline is scheduled for March 12th, 2021. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So
So
moved.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Ms. Davis,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, this is a grant for the SAFER. This will allow us to hire with no match. They removed the match out of this grant. If you remember, we applied for a SAFER grant sometime late last year and we did not get it, but there was a match with that. There is no current match with this right now. They have not, this is not due till March 12th. The max amount has not been clarified by the grant, by FEMA and the SAFER folks, but there is about $355 million available. And this will allow us to, and we are down several firefighters within the department, but and the award date is not until May 24th. So we won't even know until the 24th of May if we got this, but it'll allow us to hire additional firefighters with no match from the city.
It's a win-win.
Mhm.
Mr. Pileski. You're muted, Ted.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the only thing to be aware of is that these would be a grant for new employees, and after the grant expires, if in fact we can't afford to keep them, then they would go on layoff and we would have to pay unemployment out of the general fund. So that's just the one pitfall to it, I guess. Not saying we won't be able to afford to keep them, but that's something we always need to think about.
Sure. Does this cover the outfit them too, Kevin?
This money would cover their complete hiring process. And if I'm not mistaken, when we got the SAFER grant, Chuck's way back in 07, 08, I believe that did help cover the outfitting portion of it.
Mr. Baird?
Yeah, most of this, though, we're replacing fire personnel that we don't have, that we're low on. So if we replace them, we should be able to keep them unless things go really south on us. So I would guess, but it's a good point, Ted.
Thanks.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Barrett, he is absolutely correct. We are down firefighters. I know we have been asked about the hiring and we've kind of held off because of a multitude of reasons. Could we hold off until we see if we get this grant? That's certainly something the administration will look at to see if we get the grant by the end of May and try to limp through with that.
Right.
Good thinking.
Mr. Pulaski, did you have something more you wanted to add?
No, that's fine. I just wanted to agree with Jack. We should, they will be replacements, and hopefully we will be able to keep them on if the grant ran out. But I'm always thinking about the lost revenue with Bendix and what have you, and what else might come down the road. So,
sure.
But I think it's well worth it. The attempt to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 7, we consider the matter of applying for the 2021 OEPA Recycling and Litter Prevention Grant in order to authorizing the mayor to apply for and accept, if offered, the said grant to purchase an F-450 truck, fabricated box for the truck bed and chipper. City's portion of the cost is not to exceed $24,577 to be paid from the sanitation fund or issue 6 fund. State emergency applies, request due to filing deadline, which is February 5th, 2021. A little bit past that. So can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Mr. Brubaker.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman. Several weeks ago, the mayor called a meeting with the department heads and with Macaulay Group. And it was a really good meeting because it allowed the department heads to reach out to them and share ideas that they had for potential grants, which we've never really had that opportunity before. So we had several departments that reached out. And one of the things that Mr. I and the forestry/sanitation department was looking for a new brush bandit, which is our chipper. And then through the conversation it was had, and it came up late, was that there is a grant out there that would supply us with a new truck, the box that goes on the truck, as well as the chipper that goes behind the truck. And we found that grant, and this is where I will have to ask forgiveness. I did not want to throw this on the agenda last Monday when we had the fire truck because we didn't have all the numbers on this, but we did had to move forward and try to apply for this. But this is about almost $100,000 set of equipment between the F-250 4x4, the box, and the chipper. And this will allow us, if we're granted, we won't know until early spring whether we get this. And the cost to us won't be more than $24,000. I think it will go down more than that because we were able to find some boxes, used boxes online that Mr. Farrell and Mr. I and Mr. Strozak worked together on to buy online that we're able to fabricate towards us. So that we put that $24,000 not to exceed, just in case these boxes we bought wouldn't specifically fit that truck. But that's kind of where we're at. This will allow us to have this piece of equipment. And honestly, I wasn't quite sure if issue 6 capital or if the forestry/sanitation fund could handle that.
Sure. Right. Finance Director Pulaski or Mr. Farrell, as far as the issue 6 fund, is it for just for correction, is it, what should we refer to it as, the 0.5%? Because it's not really issue 6. I mean, I know we're just kind of, that's what we know it as, but
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, it's officially named on our books as the 2016.50% income tax fund.
okay. I mean, to me, it just, these are investments that we're making back into our community, and whether it comes from the sanitation department or whether it comes from the 0.5%, 2016 0.5% income tax fund, I think these are dollars that we're spending to improve our needs, you know, with that. Is there any questions for Mr. Baird?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Brubaker. How long do these things last? They seem to be pretty substantial, because I have a lot of leaves, so I see them buy and buy and buy, and a lot of them are the same ones over and over. So
Through you, Mr. Chairman, remember, Mr. Baird, this is a chipper truck, not a vac truck. So this is the chipper truck that we would send out for brush and tree trimming and the like of that.
thank you for making the difference. Thank you very much. Okay.
Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Brubaker. So if we get the grant and we can purchase this new, does that mean we'll have 2 chippers? Is the other old one still able to be used?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. Mitchell, actually, we purchased one several years ago, a new one. We have an older one that will remain in the fleet. So in theory, we could run 3 chipper trucks at a time, which in certain parts of the season, as you know, spring and fall and then storms.
Yes, sir.
That will allow us to put those out there and the equipment to pull them with and pick it up.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, last item on the agenda. You consider the matter of amending the temporary appropriations for the year 2021. 2021.
2021.
Yeah, in order to amend the 2021 temporary, as that should be. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Ted, are you speaking to it, or is John?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
We
Mr.
have,
Farrell.
there's 2 this evening. In the block grant fund, Public Service Department, operating and maintenance, an increase of 35,000 for additional grant monies. And in the local coronavirus relief fund, 3 of the departments, the Muni Court, the miscellaneous, and the community essential services. When the original temporary was adopted, the amount was in excess of the purchase orders that were being carried over from 2020. And as you know, we don't have any additional funds to appropriate there. So this is more of a cleanup to just so that the appropriation matches the amount available in cash that was left over.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Is there any questions for Mr. Farrell?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. If there's no further business, I entertain a motion for adjournment from finance.
Move we adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you all for tonight. Be careful, be safe out there. Stay warm.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
all.
night, everybody.
Good night.